Welcome to the Worst Golf Podcast. Everybody wants to be the best. We strive to be the worst. When a bad take is necessary, we'll be here to share it with you. I need a new intro here. I
We
said I
talked
was going
about
to
that.
create one and I didn't. It's been too busy. But welcome, everybody. Glad to have you guys on. We have a interesting show today. I have a question.
Do you want me to switch to both of us?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a question, and I'm
Sure.
asking Morgan, but I'm asking everybody who's listening to the chat or driving home and listening. Have you ever woken up in like a great mood
Mm-hmm.
only to have your first like 8 emails basically be a person who runs in and kicks you in the nuts repeatedly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've definitely had that. It's horrible.
I'm going through that right now.
I know.
And it's not fun.
I told everybody to buckle up. I warned them.
Yeah, but I'm trying to rein that in.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, I'm just having one of those days. So if people are listening to this, God help them. But if they aren't, then the people I'm talking to probably aren't anyway.
Probably aren't, yeah.
So
but
I'm going to talk to very kindly to the people here because I love our listeners and viewers. I love our community.
Yeah,
I do.
I do.
I spend more time on it than any human being should. But it's my job, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. We have a ton to get through tonight.
Yeah.
And this is our last show for a couple of weeks because of travel. Yes. So we're kind of wrapping things up and doing things in a kind of a haphazard order.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place. So
when we do these shows, we have a small rundown of notes, and it's really less notes and more where the camera will be.
Yeah, it's really just like
yeah, just make sure we talk
words,
about this
I'm
stuff.
not good with words.
Yeah, make sure we talk about this stuff because it's stuff that is pertinent to everybody.
Yes.
So I'm going to jump right into it and talk about the Granddaddy.
Okay.
We
start with positive stuff.
Yeah, yes. We announced a lucky participant last week. And I tasked the assistant captain to help me come up with a contest, and he came up with a couple of really good ideas. So hats off to much more. We are going to be launching that new contest soon. I would say in the next week or so, we're going to get this is the final one. This is the final piece to Team Subaru. And they can be done.
It's legacy.
And we can lose the rest of that team. No, I'm kidding.
I know.
But
legacy.
Yes, Team Legacy, Team THP.
Yeah, it is Team THP. Yes.
But it is going to involve taking a picture.
That seems pretty simple.
Yeah, you would think so. But, asking people to do things is not all, I had this conversation with much more. Originally, it was a video and things like that. And I'm like, man, you're really shrinking the pool.
You can't do videos. You can't.
You would think giving away this free trip and this epic thing, but we don't want a path of least resistance person to win, but at the same time, we don't want somebody to have to jump through hoops.
Right. Yeah. There's got to be a balance.
Yeah. I mean, we've given out shoulder taps, and right after that shoulder tap, that person is basically gone.
Right.
They went from being the most active THPer in the world to basically just in the Granddaddy group chat, I guess. So we're hoping to avoid that, but we want people who want to be in. Yeah. This is the ultimate trip, and we're going to get to ultimate trips coming up in a little bit, but this is the ultimate of the ultimate. It shouldn't happen. I'm not going to go through what it is.
We've talked about it a million times. Yeah.
But it's a special week, and it's something that means a lot to me personally. And I know it means a lot to the people there.
Absolutely.
So remember that when it's coming through. We've had good, we've had bad. We will always have good and bad. That's just the nature of the beast with the internet. But we're pretty confident that it's going to be a good time this year, and that Callaway's going to put on a show as always. Switching up, I'm leaving in a couple of days.
Yes.
For the Project X experience.
Yes,
you can jump that camera a little different.
There you go.
Because I'm doing two things here. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about that event, which is pretty unique in that we've done Project X events in the past, and we've done shaft events in the past. But the Project X events are a little different because in the past, it's not always about fitting. It's been about shaft creation.
Yes.
Those were fun. We've had people roll their own shafts, design their own shafts aesthetically, design their own shafts from what materials go where.
I know. That was fun.
And things like that. But in planning this one, we always had these grand plans. And I'm saying we as if people are in these phone calls, and that's not fair. So let me explain the process. There's a gentleman by the name of Don Brown at Project X who I'm fortunate to consider a friend. He's been wonderful to us for knowledge and education over 15 years.
Yep.
He's one of the smartest people in the world of golf shafts in the world.
Agreed.
He's not listening, so I don't have to worry about sharing this for him. But he's truly a talented human being, and has designed some of the most used shafts in the history of golf.
And that's just a small portion of their entire business too, which is
Yeah.
what's even crazier.
And Don he's been to these, he knows what to expect, and he wants this to be as special for everybody as it can possibly be. And also in that is Keenan, who is somebody else I consider a friend. We consider a friend. And Keenan is started out in like communications and marketing and has really worked his way into being a jack of all trades.
Yeah, he's blossomed.
Yeah, Keenan's a really good guy.
Yes,
and he's
he really
good
is.
at what he does, and he shares a ton of knowledge. And he wanted it also to be perfect for THPers. Unfortunately, neither of them could go due to other commitments, travel. Keenan going to the Walker Cup. Don is gone for 24 straight days or something like that.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. So they originally tasked this to have 2 people come out fitting, things like that.
Right.
And last week, some plans changed for the better for THP, and that we get Scott to come to this event.
Yeah, Scott's great.
Scott is not only one of the smartest human beings in shafts in the world. I think at one time his title was like director of metal.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's crazy. He not only has been involved with design and fitting, but he also runs their test center, runs their robot. Like he does, and we've watched that robot in action in Memphis. Like Scott is incredibly smart. He's also been to these. He's also a blast.
Yeah, he's so much fun.
There's
you
never
just got to
been,
get a drink in him.
Yeah, there's never been a more perfect person for these events than Scott. So if you're going to the Project X experience, you are in for something you've never expected.
Yes.
If you're not going, the live update thread is going to be must follow, because the amount of knowledge that will be dropped by Scott from questions there is going to be mind blowing. I saw somebody in the chat ask about his background. His background is shafts, golf shafts, metal, just like Don. Don's degree, I believe, is in metallurgy.
Oh yeah, you know what? He told us that.
Yeah, I think he went to University of Washington. These people are the best of the best when it comes to creation. And it's the people going, you have no idea what you're in for.
Yeah.
But that leads me to what I was really talking about in a long-winded way, which is I'm on the phone with Don last week, and we were talking about how the fittings portion is going to go. They're bringing a GC quad. I'm going to bring our GC quad so people can hit on it in the meantime.
Sure.
And we were talking about fitting and how the mind plays tricks on you, whether it's clubs, shafts, grips, whatever it is. And that, let's say you are super excited for a new hazardous coming out and it's low launching, low spin. Spin with shafts is not a real thing.
Oh,
that's neither here nor there. So we're talking about that, and Don said, in a perfect world, everybody should go through fitting and it should be blank. And I said, well, in years past, you used to do that with the Project X experience. It was called the handcrafted experience back then. And he would send them a blank shaft, and their job was when they got to the office to describe that shaft, what they'd like to see changed.
Right.
And he said, well, yeah, but why don't we just use plain blank shafts and not tell anybody what they're getting fit for? They're all going to look exactly the same. And I said, that's brilliant. Can we do that? And he said, on it. This is going to be amazing. We'll overnight them to you. You'll bring them up. He said, based on what they're playing, I have a pretty good idea. We're going to tip multiple shafts for each head, because, everybody's coming with their own driver head.
Right.
And we said, wow, this is like, if you're going through a fitting and everything is blind and you're using your own club heads, you already know you like the club head.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So there's no excuse there.
Right. You're going to see and feel a change as you do it. 2 to 3 swings here, switch, 2 to 3 swings back, switch, what's it going to be like? And it's going to be upwards of the most dynamic thing I think we've done in terms of actual testing.
Yes. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited for it. I will be following along for sure.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. But another thing is taking place during that event that I want people who are not in it to pay attention to. There are so many people who always say, I don't really understand shafts.
I know.
And,
it's still the one thing that I think is most confusing for people.
Yeah. And this is your chance, if you want to learn about them, because the first night we have an amazing group dinner planned, but we have what we're going to go through called a shaft boot camp. And Scott is going to go through the real, and I'm doing finger quotes for, I guess for people on audio, they have no idea, but I'm explaining that I'm doing finger quotes. The real information on shafts. What do these terms mean? People can have a better understanding when they're not only going through a fitting or trying shafts, whether it's a Project X or anything else, but also when they're explaining it to people in our forum, other forms, social media, just in life.
Well, it's just so hard because shafts in general, there's no consistency in what something is.
I mean, there's no consistency in life, but
You know what I mean,
I do
though.
know what you mean.
And so I think that's why people get so confused with shafts. So I like the boot camp idea.
Yeah, that's something that we're really super excited about. So you're going to be able to jump in and follow along. And really, if you want to learn,
now's the time.
The education is going to be there for you. And we're going to make it easy to understand. Somebody asked, we have a couple of events coming up at Dormy Club.
Yes.
3 actually, to kind
back
of
to back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked if this was the last event at Dormy Club. And the answer is maybe.
Yeah, maybe. We can't say a definite.
I've talked about the changes that are going on within the Dormy network. And again, we're not affiliated with them.
No.
We're strictly members.
Yes, we pay them.
And yeah, we do pay them. And we're there for as our members.
Right.
And we have to be there. One of us has to be there, or we can't do these things.
Correct.
And
by one of us, that's you.
Yeah.
We're throwing that out there.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
No, but it does have to be.
Okay.
It does.
So they asked what the main difference is. And the main difference is that the course is dividing up, or the network is dividing up, and a couple of the courses are now all-inclusive clubs. Mm-hmm. Now, for our participants, it always was all-inclusive.
They don't really see that.
On our end, we pick and choose food, drinks, things like that to make it affordable.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the price before. It's, $1,500 to $2,000 a person, roughly.
Yep.
And the change is going to make that go up substantially per person.
Yes.
A change of $6,000, let's say, for a foursome for a weekend, to $9,000.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
That's a lot, and that doesn't include gratuity on top of that.
Right. It's a huge difference.
That's a pretty big change. So, will we do an event there again in the future? Yeah. But
you just did what you hate, by the way.
I know. I'm not. I fucking hate. Sorry. Self questions.
I know you do. I know. That's why it was so funny.
So will we host an event there? Yes, we probably will. But it'll be up to the company to decide: is it worth that extra money, or THPers to demand it, because we can't afford to just eat that cost. No. We're already eating a fortune on these.
Yeah. We're going to have to do what we hate, which is pass it on.
Yeah.
We have to put some of it onto the event
and we've
cost.
done that a little bit as the costs have increased for these, and we think that people are still getting their money's worth, and I think the people who have gone would agree there.
Me too.
That's just I wanted to expand on it because I keep getting questions about it. And I've talked to a couple companies that said, listen, it's still something we'd consider, especially with Grable.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's something to, I guess it's under advisement. Right now, we don't have any plans to go there next year.
No.
That could change.
Yeah, we still have a lot of planning to do, but there is some planning already done, and it was eliminated.
Yeah, and with the network being what it is, it changes every 3 months anyway. So who knows what the change will be?
I know. I mean, even little things like we talked about, we wanted to do more stuff at Hidden Creek, but we're limited on the cottages that we can do there.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So that changes things a little bit too.
Yeah. So it does change things quite a bit. Yeah. And, there's going to be some added costs we know changing again coming up in the near future.
Greens fees coming, I think.
Yeah. Greens fees are coming. So that's, it wouldn't be golf without 3 increases in 180 days.
Seriously. Does anything go up more?
No. Yeah. Eggs and milk.
Oh, it's true. Eggs. I know. Like that. I saw like the Publix flyer. I get like the emails for it or whatever. And it said like, some egg on sale, $6.99 a dozen. I'm like, $6.99 a dozen. You used to be able to get 3 dozen for that.
Yeah. Now you sound like a sky
I know,
fister.
back in my day.
I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah.
Switching to something more positive.
Yes.
Football starts today.
Yes, it does. I'm so excited.
NFL fantasy, the draft was last week. How do you like your team?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
I like for the most part, I'm real happy with my starters, but I've always sort of had depth, although my depth's getting better with Cooper Kupp out.
True.
But I don't feel like I necessarily have like the best depth that I've ever had, but it's still not bad. I think I have a chance. It really depends on injuries, because I picked some guys that Tua's my hero. Oh, okay. So here's a big thing actually, is that I have Tua and I have Anthony Richardson, and I'm kind of considering putting Anthony Richardson in as the starter this week.
He's got some potential. He's playing a bad defense.
He's playing a bad defense, which hurts me also because it's our team. But yeah, he's playing a bad defense and they're going to put up points. So he's going to need to put up some points.
Yeah.
And I feel like he could probably score some touchdowns on his own.
Yeah.
Like, rushing him in. So
those are decisions you're going to have to make. Speaking of football, in honor of it, T-shirt weeks roll on. You want to switch the camera? I can see if I can show this one off. It's an old-fashioned Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES games. It's kind of modeled after Tecmo Bowl, but it just says Jacksonville, and it's got a little Jag in 8-bit there. You got an interesting question. I'll let you switch the camera back to you. How did you get into fantasy football? Like, because you're super into it. Yes. I don't play it. You do. How did you get into it? And switch the camera to you, not both of us.
Well, I was just switching it to both of us. We were talking. Do you see how demanding he is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually got into it because of you.
Yes.
So you had a fantasy football team. I don't even know if we were engaged.
No,
yet.
This was back in 2008, I believe.
Yeah. So we were either like just engaged or whatever, but we were, it was before we were married, and he had a fantasy football team. And I was like, what is that? Like, I'd heard of fantasy football. I actually went to a live draft once, but like, I didn't really know what it was or what was happening. He kind of showed it to me, and I learned about the stats because I'm a numbers nerd, that I was so into it. And I actually ended up not really taking over your team, but sort of like telling you all this.
You took over the team.
I was like, listen, here's the stats for this and here's the stats for this. And I think maybe if you do this instead of that. And then the thing that really got me, that like really brought me into it, was the fact that I grew up a Dolphins fan. And if you follow the Dolphins over the years, they have not been good since Dan Marino. So it was always really hard to watch them, like really hard to watch them as much as you wanted to. I think they had like 25 quarterbacks in the matter of like 4 years. Exaggeration, obviously. So I found that I can follow players instead of a team. And that was like game changer for me. So now I can watch all of the teams and be excited. And I can do stats, which again, I'm a numbers nerd. So I was all in, and I've been all in ever since. So many years now.
Yeah.
And I think for the first few years, I'll go back to both of us.
We did it together.
And
then we realized that we needed to have one person kind of be commissioner over all the leagues.
Well, we started expanding because we really only had one league or two leagues. And then
now
as we,
6, 7 leagues
exactly.
And yeah, we just needed an impartial source above all the other leads to.
Right, exactly. So like I became commissioner every time of League One.
And there's a lot of people who still believe that I'm the one who's running our team, and that's so far from reality.
Because anybody who sat down and had like a 5-minute conversation with me, I think by now would know that I'm pretty well versed when it comes to football. I might not know everything, but
you've done well
on the offensive side of things. I've got it.
Last week, we had a conversation about irons, and I'm not sure that I've ever gotten more questions followed up via the forum thread and private message and social media than to expand on that. Mm-hmm. So I want to expand on it.
Okay.
I talked about what's coming, and I shouldn't just say what's coming. There's some stuff here that kind of dives into that a little bit too, but there's a lot coming. And one of the things that we always hear about is too chunky, too big. It's a shovel. Ironically, shovels are thin when you think about it.
True.
Kind of like butter being cast, but that's neither here nor there. And I wanted to dive into it, and I'll give you some data. Data is not really the right word. I'll give you some examples of things that have been brought to my attention and that I've watched via testing and have the data on the testing. Now, people always say forgiving is such a weird term because it can mean different things to different people. I can tell you, and I've been steadfast about this, when it comes to our testing, it means one thing and one thing only. My testing, I should say.
Right.
Speed retention across and laterally, meaning away from the center, and consistency away from the center. So, not snap hooking or slicing or getting a hot spot where it's too far, too short, things like that. So that's how I measure things.
I've always just thought of forgiveness as you hit the ball in the wrong spot on the club, but it still kind of stays within play.
And that in a general term thing, that's what we're speaking of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a layman when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So.
And when I'm doing this is actual measurables.
Right.
So this year's Titleist T150 iron is more forgiving than the last AP 1 iron. So their largest game improvement they made, the T150, which would be maybe a player's distance or a player's cavity iron, is more forgiving.
Can you explain to people what a player's club is real
Yeah,
quick? I mean, I
so
know most people know, but just in case, kind of explain it to them
yeah,
if they're newbies.
let me go back a little bit. When these categories first came about, there was game improvement, there was players clubs, there were muscle bags. A players club was a club that spun more, so you could move the ball by choice around the course. Game improvement usually came with a wider sole, and no matter what anybody says, a wider sole is going to add forgiveness for golfers. It just is. Large amount of mass around the perimeter instead of mass dead center, and a thicker top line, so the top part of the club, to help people. It helps a lot of flaws, but the people who come in and flip, they're usually going to impact the ball a little high on the club face, and this would help that as well.
Right.
I have all of those flaws. So I
Okay.
test this out a lot. But the T150 is more forgiving than the last AP1. That's only a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a tiny iron in comparison. Here's another one. The T200, measurably more forgiving than just last iron release's T300.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. The Cobra King Tours are more forgiving than Speed Zone game improvement.
Also mind-blowing.
The Paradigm iron is more forgiving than Rogue. And that's just a few years ago.
I feel like you need to create a chart, or I'll create the chart for you.
Yeah, I probably do need to. And by that, yes,
Yes,
you would
I'll create the chart for you.
And the Rogue, the Paradigm, still people think it's like too big. It's not. It's closer to Apex size. It's 30% smaller than the Rogue, the Paradigm is, and it's more forgiving.
I wonder why people have that perception.
I think because in general, in history and in years past, Callaway releases their main line as game improvement, super game improvement, which is a category I don't even think is real. And the players' irons have gone under the X Forged or Apex Pro or something like that. Paradigm is about the size of Apex. I can show some pictures on the THP forum that would help that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add something else. None of this information came from some marketing person in the companies.
Oh, no.
The irony of this information, it came from somebody who doesn't work for any of those companies I mentioned. It comes from a different company.
Oh, I like that. I'm such a punny person that iron. Sorry, go on.
So a different company sent me this information.
Okay.
That sells competitive irons. I'll say that.
They do their research. They know.
Yeah, oh, they don't. And I won't mention their irons. It's not somebody we work a lot with, but I won't mention their irons in this, not to go down that path. But one that I found fascinating was this year's ZX5 is as forgiving as last year's ZX4 2 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
For those wondering, ZX.
That's Strixon.
I know, but.
Yeah. So that's just some information. But I'm going to take it a step further on this, because people say, oh, yeah, whatever. You're just throwing this shit out. And yes, I am. But I'm going to tell you, this is the easiest thing to test on your own. And I don't mean go hit a bucket of balls with some clubs at a demo range. If you do not believe that irons have changed and you think it's all changing loft and it's about distance, it's fucking bullshit. There is way more going on than that. As somebody who spends half their days looking at the inside of irons and what's going on, I can tell you a lot's changed. One of the things is the use of tungsten. Another thing is bringing back a hollow body and doing stuff internally. Now, hollow body's been around for a long time. It went away and came back because the original hollow body irons were terrible. They sounded like shit.
I was going to say it sounded horrible.
Awful. Now, some companies would say, I don't get into that foam-filled stuff. Like, we don't have to artificially create sound. Listen, if that's your thing, great. But in this case, it's not necessarily about changing sound. I'm talking about actual performance and what's going on the inside. And if you look at a lot of the direct-to-consumer companies that are putting out these hollow irons, they all look exactly the same. It's because they all are the same. They're shit. I shouldn't say that. They're not all shit. I should say they can't tell you what's going on with the inside of the iron because they have no idea what's going on the inside of the iron.
Right.
They're buying something that's already made. Okay, back to this. You can test yourself. If you have a Edel SMS iron or wedge, easy to test. Move the weight. See if it changes anything. I can guarantee you that it will change the sound, the feel, and most likely the impact. whether it's face closure, face open, ball speed changes, everything else. That will change. If you don't have that, because a lot of people don't, get some lead tape and put some lead tape first on the toe side of your iron, then on the heel side of your iron, then very low, right where the back of your iron goes to the sole, put some lead tape there.
And an iron to show people.
Yeah, watch what it does. I don't have one next to me, ironically
enough.
know. Watch what it does to your impact and your ball flight. This is very, instead of, oh, back in my day, all the irons were this.
But that's so much more fun.
Or, oh, it's all lofts. Or, I'm a better player than you, so I know. You're not. You are a better player, but you don't know. You're spilling nonsense, and it's to the detriment of golfers, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I can't stand when people who have some influence on other people give bad advice for the benefit of either feeling good or worse financially.
That's
hate
horrible.
That. And there's websites that are out there doing that, and I hate it with a passion more than anything in the world. I told you from the very beginning, the day that we decide we're going to head down that path, I walk. I'm done.
We'll never head down that path.
No. So this is something that's very easy for people to test. And I urge anybody who's curious about this to test it out themselves. The lead tape doesn't have to stay in your clubs forever. It might leave some marks, but it doesn't have to. But try it. You are going to see something very, very different in what's going on with irons and iron design. And then know that what we're talking about, to make this long story even longer, is this is what's going on in the inside of golf clubs currently with some of these companies. 5 years ago, we got more than that. When the new Big Berthas came out, when they launched them as super game improvement irons, really forgiving irons, I think that was the first time Callaway had the suspended tungsten, where every iron was designed independently with a different amount of tungsten in a different placement. It was suspended in urethane microspheres is a fun marketing term, but urethane microspheres are 1000% different than foam, but it was suspended in that.
Right.
So you didn't have a tungsten feel or sound. You got something soft, but it was literally suspended in that.
Which
it was like
crazy when you think about it.
You can kind of visualize that if you spit out a piece of gum and then put a wrapper inside that gum or something, the backwards way you would normally do it. That's what was
like
going
an
on.
Inside out sushi roll.
Yes, that's exactly right. So that's what's going on internally in irons. And it doesn't have to just be tungsten. It could be material from the iron. It could be something completely different, but they're able to change these things. And I've watched something recently that spawned this conversation last week, and that was an iron being created, and it was shown to me in 5 pictures, and then described what was taking place. And this iron was tiny. And if you saw the amount of weight in these certain key spots, you're just like, they're literally designing a driver in the size of an iron.
It's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's much smarter people than me. There's a lot of those. But so as I'm going forward, there's a million. We've always said there's certain things we believe in. 1 is real information. 2 is, I'm not into ranking things. Our job is to give you guys the equipment, let you tell us what's the best.
Yeah. It's different.
And 3, transparency. I can't be transparent with these specific clubs because they're not out yet.
Right. There's NDAs.
But I can be for what's coming and what is existing. And I urge everybody, try this out yourself. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. If you love golf equipment, this is fun. Okay. Jumping back into THPer questions and some other stuff.
Okay.
Did I miss a good comment? You're smiling over there.
No. I love watching you talk about
I'm passionate about it.
Yes,
I'm passionate about real information.
So it just makes me smile.
Bullshit. I hate bullshit. I probably should embrace it more, but I'm not.
No, don't.
Somebody asked the best opportunity, me personally, that I've ever had that THP brought. And we were talking about this before we went on the air. And most people would immediately jump to the courses I've been played. I mean, Olympia Fields with THPers. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very private.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping in that room above the locker room of the lodge at Olympia Fields. It's not open to the public.
Right.
Creepy as all heck, but pretty awesome. Belle Reve, right before the PGA Championship was played there, was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I once turned down the opportunity to take a private jet from Carlsbad to Las Vegas for TaylorMade Golf with Jet Speed Launch.
Yeah.
It was because we had an event, but like I turned it down.
That one still stings.
Yeah. Tom Olsovsky was the person who was helping organize that with Sean Toulon. They were both there. Now Tom is at Cobra and Sean is at Toulon Golf. Yeah, I turned down that opportunity. Man, that team was pretty cool. They had Jose there. They had Harry Arnett. A lot of people. And that's why I always say, like, if you're a fan of that, these people have all gone into other brands. You can try other things.
Right, exactly. I wonder if people realize that.
I don't know. We should probably do a show on the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in the golf industry.
Seriously. It's very incestuous. Is that the right word?
Incestuous, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The creation of the Morgan Cup is pretty special to me.
Yeah.
But more the bringing back of the Morgan Cup with Cobra Golf. I had killed that event off for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And
it was necessary.
It was. And Jose and Mike Yagley just told me that I needed to bring it back, and they gave me all the right reasons, and they were right.
Yeah.
And a thank you to JD Talks, who's been a wonderful ambassador of this and helped us get it continue it going. A thank you to the previous captains, Jay Dax and others who opposed him, but Jose, Mike, and the Cobra Puma team, Rachel previously, now Kelly, who make this all happen. It is, you guys have no idea what the organization has to go through at Cobra. I'm not saying the work we I'm not playing a martyr card like, oh, please thank us for doing it. That's not what we're doing.
The amount of emails that Kelly, we get looped in on the emails that happen internally with them. And sometimes you want to just remove yourself because it's so many emails going back and forth trying to get, especially with like inventory for non-club stuff for the soft goods side of things. Yeah,
when
you have so many different sizes and you're trying to make everything match, and then shoe sizes, and you've got wide and you have narrow, and it gets complicated.
Colors and picking things.
And then Jose and Yagli are also extremely particular. Like Jose's like, no, I'm not wearing that color belt.
Right.
Switch it out.
And it gets really tough because, we get the equipment. We used to do it where they got the equipment at the event, which is what I preferred. But I understand people wanted their equipment early.
Yes.
They would need to get used to it.
Yeah. And I preferred it that way too, because if there were problems, I knew ahead of time rather than at the course.
And that makes it really hard too, because as you're planning, things sell out.
Yeah.
And it's not like, hey, well, let's run in the back and mill something. That's not how it works.
No.
So that part is there. We don't know if it's coming back next year. We haven't even had that conversation.
No, we haven't.
If it does, it will be tweaked a little bit.
Probably. It won't be at Dormy.
At Dormy Club, that is correct.
Yeah. Dormy Network, probably, but not Dormy Club.
So, that's something that we've been talking quite a lot about, and we will continue to. But going back to I have to say, this is terrible, but when somebody asks what's the best thing that THP is, probably the Granddaddy. And I don't mean from playing in it, because, hey, I just got an email from Nippon Chefs. From that's amazing. Don't get me wrong. That was absolutely amazing. And I played in it multiple times. It's the creation process with Jason Finley and Nick McAnally at Callaway that have made this so special. From a person like me who really likes the creative side of it and the marketing side of it and things like that. It is something that's incredibly special to me. So I would say that there was a moment in time, and people always ask, do you remember these moments? And there's a moment in time when the Granddaddy was right before or during a major tournament. I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
It wasn't that the Granddaddy was at this major tournament. It was that these announcements were. And Callaway Golf chose to put up the scripting for Team THP on the eve of the Open Championship, I believe. And that was a pretty humbling experience. And I remember I was in a hotel room. We weren't together. And I remember sending you a text message and said, like, I'm kind of breaking down here. Like, this is... They don't know that it means that much to me, because to them it's a job.
Right.
And it does mean a lot to them, and they know it means a lot to me, but this stuff means a lot to me, and it's very humbling. That's all I can say. We mentioned the Morgan Cup, and it's getting close. I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit about that. This show's going to go long anyway, because I haven't even started ranting.
No, you haven't even had your rant yet.
We're getting close to the pairings talk. And
I feel like the pairings talk turns into like some like chick cat fight, like some like crazy hair pulling. Like
I think if you were putting the teams together and saying, let's work out who's going to play who, it might.
Right.
That's not how it's done.
Right.
I've turned the captainship over to 4-member Parrot. I only think that's fair. First of all, he's a great ambassador to the brand and a great ambassador to the THP forum. He was in the event, and I'm an absentee participant.
Right.
I don't want to be a participant, not because I don't love the team or Cobra gear or anything else. I always feel like I'm taking a spot away from somebody.
If you could give it to somebody else, you would. Unfortunately, you have to be there. Right.
We have to have a member on course. So we're getting to that time when you're doing pairings and everybody has their own thoughts on pairings, and mine are pretty out there, and I'm very open to the fact that
your thoughts are different than everybody else's.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by that.
I know. Most people, you would think more people would be right more.
Do you hear my stomach growling?
No.
Sorry if you can hear that.
I'm fairly strong-willed on my pairings thoughts, but I'm not the captain. And I gave Parrot my insight, and he will pair them accordingly. He's very much having the whole team involved, and we'll go from there. But I feel pretty good about this Team Hackers team.
Okay.
I do.
That's good.
I feel pretty good about it. I feel like the run and reign of terror of Team Paradise, led by JD Tox, is coming to an end. And we will plant that flag in the ground, and it's going to be pretty joyous.
Okay.
I can tell you that it's going to be pretty joyous. And then maybe I'll get to return, or Parrot can return as captain, and we'll see if we can defend it. I mean, JD Tox wins every year.
I know.
F that guy.
He's got some like special Morgan Cup.
He cheats.
He cheats?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the rumor. I've never actually witnessed it, but the rumor is he cheats.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the Morgan Cup. We're getting really close. It's at Dormy Club also. I'm urging those people to pay attention to the next few weeks because we're going to be there.
Yeah, seriously.
And I will have a lot of thoughts on the courses, as I'm sure Canadan will, and Templeton and other people.
Yeah, it's like having the winning putt and the person before you has the same line. Watch it. Pay attention.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting week because we have some very active forum members in these upcoming events, and they're going to share a lot of course thoughts. Everybody always has this. I'm watching the flyovers. I know I'm going to play this hole. To quote Mike Tyson, you always have a plan until you get kicked in the mouth or hit in the mouth. Yeah. Like, that's not how it works on the golf course. I've played the course with our captain, with JD Tox, and he beat me pretty badly.
He just gave you an eye roll, just so you know.
Well, he's a dictator. That's what happens. But okay, that's the Morgan Cup. We're super excited.
Yes.
It's always a big time for us. It's a celebration in a lot of ways of a company that believes in these experiences, and it's important to them too.
Yeah, their rivalry is just as big.
Don't fuck it up.
Seriously.
Don't.
Yeah.
The amount of money that this event costs, don't F this one up.
Don't do it.
I'm not meaning to add any more pressure, but there's more pressure.
Yeah. Well, it's going to come in the rant later.
Jumping to a couple of other things before we can't go on forever. We're at like 40 minutes already, and we're halfway through our list.
We can probably skip some stuff.
I'm gonna skip the travel dining versus local. I'll get to that in the forum. Okay. It's a pretty interesting conversation because we have this strange belief of you always want to try the local food until you get sick.
Yeah, which only happens to you.
Yeah, I don't make the best food choices.
Apparently not.
But I make the most delicious food choices
at the moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You just want to savor the flavor for later.
Exactly. Every couple of weeks, if people have been on the forum, they've noticed that we've had Ian and team from Club Champion Canada do live chats. That's going to happen every couple of weeks.
Yeah, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, they're super into it. They enjoy it. They're going to come on for an hour, answer questions. We're going to have the thread up early so you guys can get all those questions posted. And I think that it's something that we're going to move to other things as well. There's going to be quite a bit going on there, but they're another group that understands how we work and they like the community, and we're going to continue doing that. So we'll have a new thread up next week.
Yes.
Ryder Cup week, and there may be a little Ryder Cup tie-in. We've been talking. So that should be fun. I got a question about the next big push in golf tech. And That's not Golf Tech, the brand.
It's funny because you
Golf
have to,
Technology.
yeah.
I think I covered that previously. I think we're seeing a lot, but is the technology going on in golf clubs? Come on. 4 years ago, nobody thought the entire back of a golf driver was going to be a cartridge of carbon fiber.
I know, that was kind of crazy.
Oh, nothing's changed. It's all the same. Fuck you. There's so much new tech going on in golf. All these people who are angry and saying it's all marketing, you guys are so full of shit. Like 5 years ago, we're not talking about, let's go back 2 years ago.
I feel like we got to throw like a bless your heart in here somewhere or something.
Yeah, bless your heart, idiot.
Oh my God.
The amount of tech, 2 years ago, nobody in a million years thought we were going to see an entire 90% of a driver be carbon fiber outside of a spine. Like that wasn't even a thing. Nobody thought that was even possible. This stuff drives me nuts. Oh, it's all market. It's big marketing. Yeah, sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy your blades. Oh, my club I've seen the same distance. You're terrible. I know I'm terrible.
Yeah, if you're
it's not about what you hit on the button. And all these places that put out these rankings. Oh, well, this one was the fastest by a yard. It's only a difference between a yard because they hit them. Drivers aren't about hitting it on the button every time. If you do that, you belong on the internet. Because I've been to a lot of THP events. Nobody does that.
No.
All the people who come to the THP events see plenty of misses.
Oh, yeah.
Even from really good golfers.
I mean, what's the saying we always have on the first tee?
Yeah.
Hold the pose no matter what.
Hold the pose no matter what.
Because there's at least two people that shank it or do something.
Yep.
Or don't even make it to we'll call it front tees.
Yeah.
It's the ladies.
I should just start with that rant. All the clubs are the same. Nothing's changing. God, these people are so dumb. I'm not talking about the people who are following our stuff. I'm talking about people in general who always think the big bad business is out to get them. Like they're forced to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean something's not better.
No.
You don't when the next iPhone comes out, it's a better iPhone than the previous iPhone. You're not forced to buy it.
No.
I mean, Apple kind of makes you that with the battery life. But
yeah, suspicious.
You're not forced to buy it.
No.
It doesn't have to be this, oh my God, it's all marketing. No, it's not. The amount of money spent on R&D by some of these companies would blow people's minds.
I agree.
Blow people's minds. And we're not talking about one person in R&D. Well, there are some companies who have one person in R&D.
I know, which is
other companies that have 30.
Yeah.
And they're working full days every day, 365 days a year to come up with something better. There are companies, somebody in the Morgan Cup, Mike Gagley, who doesn't even work on current equipment. He's future.
Yeah.
They're working on materials for the future. Like this whole thing of pretending that it's just all the same is so ridiculous. It's okay to not see an improvement. That doesn't mean the improvement's not there.
Right.
And all these publications out there or people out there that are anti-establishment for the sake of being anti-establishment because they think that makes them cool is just bad for the golfer.
Yeah.
This idea that, the old excuse used to be, well, handicaps haven't changed. That's wrong. I don't know where that chart came from. It's completely false. Handicaps have completely changed.
People say that?
Yeah. They were like, the men's handicap hasn't changed in 20 years. Nope. Completely made up. It's completely changed.
Oh.
And the handicap, the people who get actual handicaps, has gotten older. So not only has it gone down, the age has gone up, and they're still getting better.
Right.
So again, just internet nonsense. It was on Facebook, so it has to be
true.
Obviously,
yeah. If it's on Facebook, for sure, it's true.
I'm on a roll. I should just keep going, right?
Yeah, seriously. I think we just skip everything else and just let you rant the rest of the time.
We're going to be giving this away soon.
Down.
No,
other way.
Not even
there
close.
You go.
There's no red sparkles in it if you're seeing that on the screen. That's from
the
light of the camera. But scorecard holders, we got a few of them. Courtesy of Budget Golf, we are going to be giving those away. Budget is a wonderful, wonderful company that does have the best prices. They're not paying me to say that. They just happen to have the best prices. Stay tuned for that. We're going to be giving one away next episode. Mm-hmm. Maybe two.
Next episode?
Yeah, next episode
so
we do.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, it'll be a couple weeks. We got a really good question that I wanted to discuss here, and that is vetting a golf coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tie this into a second conversation, which is what should golfers work on. So the first is people have this thought process that a golf coach, when you go get a lesson, they're going to redo everything you do. And that's just not the case.
No, I think that's a major misconception.
It is that most teachers work with what they have. Mm-hmm. If you're a guy who struggles with certain things, yes, very good, very true.
Yes.
They're going to work within that framework. They're going to talk, be open. I slice the shit out of the ball. Okay, let's work on that. I'm over the top, or if you don't even know, but let's say you are over the top. We had an instructor pull out the pool noodle. Don't hit the pool noodle in the swing. My first 6 swings, I hit the damn pool noodle. F that guy. No, he was a great teacher. But you do not have to break down everything. It's not about, so when you go to vet a golf teacher, just ask them one simple question. Do you work within the framework of my swing?
Yeah.
You know, if the answer is yes and you like their personality, great. Give them a try.
Yeah. I think there's another important question to ask too.
What's that?
Personally. And this was something that was important for me and it helped me. I always asked, are you a very tech driven type teacher? Meaning, are you going to be very technical and explain to me like it's going to be this, 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 and this? Or are you a feel driven instructor where it's not so much that you technically have to be at this angle and that angle, but you have to feel this. Like you should feel like this. Because I think that there are really two different types of golfers.
Very different student. Yeah.
And I definitely was better when I worked with a more technical person than I did with a more feel person. Maybe it was the other way around. Whatever it was. Just kind of know where you are in that lane. And I think that that's another good question to ask.
I would agree with that. That's actually a really good question. Now I'm going to kind of mold that into the question about what should golfers work on. And I'm going to relate this strictly to the THP events experiences kind of thing. If you're coming to something like that, people always say, well, what should I work on? And the answer is always practice your short game. I am so on the other side of the spectrum for that for most golfers. I think the short game is important. I think putting is important, but you never know what type of greens you're going to face when you get there. I am a big believer in having a repeatable swing, and it doesn't have to be the same every time. Nobody's swing is the same every time. But if you play a 40-yard slice, have that swing be set up to play that 40-yard slice.
Right.
You know, that's what you're planning. So you're aiming down the left, you're bringing it back to the right.
Oh, yeah.
If you are a guy who is all over the place. Yes, person. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel so liberated. If you are a person, golfer.
Just use golfer. There you go.
That struggles all over the place, that's what you should work on.
Yeah.
Repeatability. Get that one go-to shot that when you are a little amped up or you have a little bit of nerves, because you're going to, that's what you need.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
I like that.
If you don't have that, let's get somebody to help get that for you. Go get an instruction or two. It does not mean you have to go grind 5 days a week every day leading up to this thing.
No. Half the time, all they're going to do.
I haven't played a round of golf or gone to a range since the last event, and I'm playing in one in a couple of days.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, you haven't. I mean, half the time, truthfully, it's a grip thing. Like they'll change just your grip. You don't even have to change your entire swing.
Mine was it's about a takeaway.
Yeah.
You know?
It's usually just one thing.
Still
if
can't
you can
do it,
fix the one thing, to at least become repeatable.
I blame Canada. So
when in doubt, always blame him.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump. I hope that helps people.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump to your recipe of the week.
Okay. Do we still have time for it?
Yeah.
Okay, because if not, I can just put it on the forum. No. All right. Recipe of the week. I went with something kind of different. I wanted to do sort of like comfort food. I don't know why, but like with football season starting and then the last couple mornings have been not 100 degrees outside. So I don't know. It just felt like comfort food time. So this is a ham and rice casserole and it's stupid easy because you can literally go to the grocery store and ask your deli counter to just slice like really, really thick ham. And that's all you need. You don't need to go like make a ham or do anything like that. And it's all in one pot, which I also really like. And reheats really well, super filling. And I have the entire recipe on the forum when we're done.
Okay. Off courses tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this for anybody who's still listening. Most people have probably checked out of this nonsense. If you're still listening and you're a golf nerd, this is the episode you've been dreaming for. The deep dive that Canadan and Chris Fauchal go down in club design is amazing. You would be bored out of your skull listening to this.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But it is amazing. If you want to learn, this is your episode. If you want to yell at the radio as it's playing, this is your episode. It's so good. They dive in really deep. It's something that you're going to want to listen to. Now, dead air is not good for the podcast, but
no,
I'm going to rant briefly,
okay.
But I'm going to save most of it.
Okay.
I have a love affair with our online community.
Mm-hmm.
I love that our forum talks about golf, talks about travel, talks about food, apparel, sports, everything else. One of the things that I'm proud of is the equipment conversations. I'm a big fan of them.
As hopefully you can be told by your passion when you're talking
Yeah.
about it.
I'm a big fan of putting equipment in other people's hands and letting them tell the world how good they are. Doesn't matter the equipment. Could be a ball, could be a launch monitor, could be a driver, hybrid, whatever it is. We created the forum testing thing. It was not a thing before we came up with that idea 15 years ago. It was, we have staff writers, they do an amazing job, but let's also have regular golfers. That way we have all skill levels trying something out.
Yeah, that was always your biggest thing.
Yes.
Different skill levels.
We also don't just pick people every time. Like, we could pick the same 5 people every time. They'd probably do a great job.
Yeah, seriously.
Instead, we open it up publicly. You want to sign up for something? Here you go. Here's your chance. If you keep signing up, you're probably going to get selected at some point, as long as you're active on the THP forum. If you get selected, do your fucking job. You agreed to talk about the equipment. Don't get the equipment and then vanish.
Mm-hmm.
So life gets in the way a lot. I respect that.
Absolutely.
If life gets in the way, a simple message: hey, life is in the way. I got some shit I'm dealing with. Okay.
Yeah, we figure it out.
Yeah, let us talk to the company. We'll figure something out.
Right.
Either we'll get your reviews after the fact. We'll figure something out.
Right.
Don't vanish.
No. It's so bad.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're saying to everybody else that's done the forum testing or that wants to in the future, you don't matter.
Nope.
Because that forum testing is never going to happen again.
Nope.
That's a real problem.
Yes.
It's a problem for me because I'm a big boy. I can deal with it with the company. And the company I dealt with it. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the other people, the other members of the community that want to do it. It's the same thing. If you go to the Granddaddy, you go to the Morgan Cup, you do these things and you don't, and then you vanish, you are essentially saying the rest of you don't matter. And if that's your take, great, go do it.
Yeah, it's basically giving a middle finger to everybody. And it's
giving a middle finger to the people who paid to have you do it.
Yeah.
If you go to the Granddaddy and then you just vanish, you're telling the rest of the community, you don't deserve this. I got mine. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, go screw yourself.
And I'm not saying that a Granddaddy member, I'm using these as examples.
Right.
Forum testing. If you do it, do it. If you sign up for it, you get it, do it. This is not a real hard thing.
It shouldn't be.
If you can't do it, I understand. And I'm saying openly, I understand. Shit happens in life. It happens to all of us. Just send a message.
Communication is not hard.
It's not that hard.
No.
It is not. Nobody is so busy that they don't have 30 seconds to send a quick private message and say, listen, I have some shit I'm dealing with. I don't want to get into it. I'm not leaving. I'm not screwing everybody over. I'm going to deal with this and I'll get back to you. If I'm not back in a couple weeks, I'll send you another message and let you know what's going on. Like, it's not unreasonable either.
No, not at all.
The other people are never going to get a chance to do this now.
No, they've ruined it.
They've
absolutely ruined it. And it pisses me off.
Yeah. And that sucks. It sucks royally. And I'm not always the best communicator in terms of text when it comes to that. But if I do reach out and say, hey, man, what's going on? And you respond with, I'm coming, I've just been busy, but I'm taking care of it now. And then you don't, like, that's really shitty because I've communicated that back to others.
Right. And also, I'm going to add to that. Don't come in with one line.
No.
Don't come in with one line because
you're better off not writing anything.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you're just shitting it.
Yeah. It's like a half-assed apology kind of thing. Like, just either do it or don't do it.
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
No.
But we want to continue to do it.
Yes.
Now, I expect everybody who follows this to say,
right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So you don't have to message us asking
now,
like,
I'm going to say, take it a step further. If you want to be involved in it, or if you signed up, let's say you signed up to test the Stealth 2 driver and you didn't get selected, but 5 other people did, and they're writing their reviews, and you never venture into that thread, you're just as guilty as the person who doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to test, you wanted to give the information, you want the information, you're interested in the golf club, and then you can't even give it 30 seconds to make a post asking the people how it's working for them.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that that's pushing it a step further. but it's an easy way to get selected for a forum
It really
testing.
is.
If you want to get new clubs to review, this is the best way. Engage about golf equipment on the forum. I've been ranting long enough, but this has happened several times in the last 3 months to the point where we had a conversation this morning, meaning Morgan and I, with the staff about just not doing them anymore.
Yeah.
Because we have staff members who are great at this and who are more than happy to take all the equipment and talk about it.
Well, and it goes a step further. It's not just going to be equipment testing. It would roll into events too.
Yes, it would.
It would be both.
Yeah.
We would have to just stop both.
Yeah.
Which is awful.
If you get a shoulder tap into an event, why it feels like there's something weird in the air. If you get a shoulder tap into the event for being the most active person on the forum and then you stop being active, what the fuck?
What happened?
Yeah. They only have so many typing posts in a day and they go into the team chat.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to have to start doing like auditions or something.
Or just not doing
them, which is terrible.
It's
terrible. It's bad for everybody. Because that's the thing is the good shouldn't get punished for the bad, but there has to be some repercussions.
Yeah. I don't know. Repercussions isn't the right word.
Well, I don't mean it like that.
It's not high school. But,
no, but you know what I mean.
So anyway.
You know what I mean.
Just
hopefully,
like I said, our community is there. People can use our community any way they want to.
Yeah.
You want to talk about equipment, great. You want to talk about food, great. You want to talk about football, great.
I never talk about equipment.
Yeah. If you want to receive equipment for forum testing and then you're not talking about it, that's not great. That's all I'm saying. And that's probably the best way for me to say it. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And we'll just reiterate one more time. If there's just something going on, just tell us.
Yeah. Just talk.
Really, just tell us. Communication is like the biggest thing to us.
Yes.
After that, like no one's mad. Nobody's getting in trouble. It's really hard to get banned on our forum, by the way. Like it's not any of that.
I know I banned somebody this last week.
I know you did.
Yeah.
You didn't even do a permanent ban either. You just did like a
30
timeout.
days.
Yeah.
And then I got an apology that said I was wrong.
Yeah. That's right.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Not that I got an apology from a person, but it didn't say they were wrong. They said I was wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, listen, I'm wrong 99% of the time, I'm told. I'm used to it. I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm the one that has the microphone. I get the last laugh. Is that the way it works?
Maybe.
We are not on next week.
No,
we're probably getting canceled after this episode.
Probably,
anyway,
yeah. Shut down.
If you are in the Project X event, you are in for a treat. If you are not in the Project X event,
follow along.
But there's a contest dropping tomorrow. I'll give the people who are paying attention, these last 8 listeners that we probably have, some insight. We are having a contest. Canadan, who's our off-course host, who's coming to this. He and I will be playing the first round together in a shamble, and you're going to predict our score.
Oh.
And depending on how we do, you could win a killer. The prize is killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't share it though.
No. It's in a box. That's all they'll do.
It's in a box.
Yeah, it's going to come in a mystery box.
Okay.
So make sure you follow along, and we are done. And we are done for next week. So we're back in 2 weeks. Make sure you listen to Off Course tomorrow.
I love that we say we're back in 2 weeks, but yeah, you are in town. Never mind.
I'm in town.
All right. That's it.
That's it.
All right.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.